Now, Mr. Baker, you went through and did some numbers, and in fact, you found out the price of iron and all this other kind of stuff, and you're trying to figure out how this is all going to support 750 jobs or whatever, and you had a tough time coming up with those numbers.
Yeah, I did. In your discussions with Wings, Ben, has he ever said what the current price of pig iron is per ton?
I'm honestly not familiar with what it is. I've seen the number personally, and that was, I guess, a couple months ago.
Yeah, the newest information I could get was about $350.
That jives
a ton.
with my numbers. Yeah.
Okay, so what I did is calculation based on if his initial throughput is 150,000 tons of finished product. That ends up being about $75 million. And as Ben said, if he ends up escalating this facility where it would end up being 2 million tons, I mean, that's a big difference. That's a factor of 12 from where he started.
Sure.
But if you take 750 jobs and you take $1 billion project that you'd amortize over 30 years, the cost of just the loan and the cost of the payroll far and away exceeds the $75 million of revenue. So that's where I said the numbers don't jive. And I'm sure Wings has supported their project with the council. We just weren't part of that. We don't know what they've said.
All right, let me ask Ben this. Sure. What happens if Mr. Kennedy and Wings Enterprises puts this project together and it doesn't work? Price of iron goes down, or the steel factories start closing down in the United States, or whatever the strategic logistical factors were that made this look so attractive, and it doesn't work. What happens?
There's a couple different things that could happen there. He could be in default of the lease, in which case he's required to help us find a new tenant. We buy him out of his share, and then we're left with the exact process that I think the Concerned Citizens Group has been asking for. We put it out for proposal. We solicit anybody and everybody who's interested, and we figure out what we're going to do from there. I don't know how better to say it than that. If he's not producing pig iron, and he's in default of this lease, and I would go to kind of what Roger was saying. It's not feasible for him to produce just a little bit of pig iron and then go to do something else. I mean, why would you put that sort of investment into a facility? Why would you put that sort of investment into payroll if you're not going to produce sufficient quantities to make, just a tremendous amount of money? And in turn, that'll make the city a tremendous amount of money.
Which all sounds good, but the mine that was closed down, that he purchased,
correct,
they closed that down because
correct,
at the time it got too expensive. It wasn't worthwhile anymore to dig that iron. Now,
specifically, that company was mired in a number of different financial issues, and I believe the story goes that at some point they simply couldn't pay their electric bill and opted to shut it down, as opposed to.
But markets go up and down,
sure,
and everything that I've seen makes this look like a very attractive deal, including the purity of the iron ore in the mine and all the logistics that come into Crystal City, including the river and the rail, and
right.
I mean everything looks just beautiful right now. But that could change. So if that does change, again, he goes into default. Crystal City, you now own the property. You can put it out for whatever kind of tenant wants to raise their head.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. We buy him out for his $2 million plus 6% on every year that the property's vacant. He doesn't get that money if we never find a new tenant. He's agreed to indemnify the city against any sort of by way of pollution that might happen during the process of the making this pig iron. Our bases are covered. And any way you look at it, Crystal City's ownership of this property is a positive thing for this community.
On that note, let me just change the subject a little bit here, because I think for a lot of the Concerned Citizens Group, and I think for a lot of people who don't show up at the meetings, who are just living in Crystal City, they just don't want a smelter there. The numbers, yes, they're important. Yes, they're there. But the fact is, industry supported Crystal City, pretty much built Crystal City for years. There's people now who, especially in Ward 1, who a smelter will be in their backyard. They just do not want a smelter in Crystal City. So no numbers or anything are going to change their argument. Mr. Baker, I'm sure you can speak for your group in this one. For the people who just don't want a smelter in their yard, I know your concern was the way the city went about doing it. Now, just explain to me your argument there. Why do you feel that it's necessary that you take deeper looks into this?
Well, the Ben and the people on the council have said repeatedly that this facility will have a state-of-the-art environmental control system, and that's very true. A state-of-the-art what they call best available control technology, would put the state-of-the-art scrubbers and so forth to control the emissions of greenhouse gases, particulate matter, and so forth. But I'm not sure that everyone in Crystal City and Jefferson County and in the because this isn't just this isn't going to just stop at the city limits of Crystal City. This is going to affect everybody in eastern Jefferson County. The best available control technology that I've been able to see takes care of about 40% of the pollution that a facility would reduce it by 40% in rough numbers. Might be 30, might be 45. But that still leaves, if Wings is going to process 2.5 million tons of iron ore to get 1.5 million tons of pig iron, they're going to have a similar amount of coal to reduce or to act as the fossil fuel to reduce this. Man, that is a ton of, literally tons and tons and tons of material coming into the city. And even with the best engineering, and I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm a registered engineer in the state of Missouri. I do this for a living, evaluating projects. What people have to understand is even with the best available technology, there's going to be something here that isn't there now. And I think that's what a lot of people are pretty wound up about.
And Ben, what's the city's stance on that? Because obviously this smelter has to go through all the permitting process, and that's something I want to get back to with the concerned citizens. Well, let me just go to that now. If the smelter passes all the things, it's proven that there is no environmental factors or little environmental factors, will this group change their mind? Will this say, hey, this isn't going to hurt our city, this probably is a good thing for our city?
I don't think we will, and here's why. Because even if the best available control technology is applied, we'll still have 50 or 60% of something that we don't have now. And we would certainly have preferred to have looked for other cleaner uses, such as the people in Valmeyer right across the river have done. They've came up with a way to have a government record storage that's going to bring hundreds of jobs and improve the base and be zero environmental impact to the community. Don't forget, fellas, that we're in a non-attainment area. The entire Metro St. Louis area is a non-attainment area as far as the EPA is concerned. The probability of Wings being able to get a permit to add another major point source into a non-attainment area is very questionable. And that's why, I mean, me personally, not talking for the citizens, but me personally, if this is such a great deal, why didn't Wings just do the deal directly with PPG and leave city out of it altogether? If this would have been a real estate transaction, then we wouldn't be having this conversation, because he would have bought it and he would have moved forward with his plan. There's some ulterior motive that he has in involving the city, because the city would still get the same increase in the tax base, but they wouldn't be stuck with any of the liability if he defaults and does something else. We wouldn't be talking about this.
Well, let's throw that to Ben, because there's obviously a lot of concern
Well,
there.
start with the pollution, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions there.
Sure.
For one, I mean, as he mentioned, there are going to be harder standards in this area.
Absolutely.
So that means if they go through, then it's probably going to be a fairly clean facility. And I'm sure that's something the city took into character.
Yes.
And just myself have talked to Jim Kennedy before, and just to answer his question a little bit, he wanted to get the city involved. He wanted its blessing. I think that's what Jim Kennedy's answer would be as to why he wanted to get the city involved.